All set, ma'am?
Yes.
Good to go. Thank you, everyone, for coming. First item on the agenda is approving minutes held from November 28th.
I'd make a motion, we approve those minutes and sign the warrant.
Second, all in favor? Good. We have an audit presentation. Doug is here tonight. I'm going to hand it over to Doug, and Doug will give you a touch.
Good evening. For the second year in a row, Craig Costello of Brandon Thibodeau and Associates did our audit, and he is here to present that to you folks, so I will hand it over to him.
Good evening. So I'll do, for those of you who were here last year, I'll do a summarized version of the overall report, because going through 45 pages would take quite a bit of time, but just give some highlights of it. There was an unmodified opinion, which is the best opinion to get on the report, which means there was no modifications of that opinion. Nothing came to our attention to change that opinion, nor were there adjustments proposed to modify that opinion as well. And as also, we had no findings on the audit this year. So it was a pretty clean and very smooth audit this time around. Doug does a very good job at what he does in the office, and so does the staff overall in assisting in that process. So I will jump right into the meat of the audit and results, the financial results of that. So if you go to page 13, that's the statement of net position. This is the overall net position of the town that captures not only the fixed assets, but also the long-term debt as offsets to that. So this comes down to a total net position for the overall of the town, both the governmental activities as well as the sewer fund. So you will see that you have a total net position, which is asset minus all liabilities, of $9,603,261. Of that, $6,799,541 is an add-on of net assets or net position because of bringing on capital assets and net of long-term debt. So this is going to show a much larger fund balance than you'll see in the other statements, but only because it's capturing those two items, much like a business captures assets and liabilities on their balance sheet. And then on statement 2, page 14, this kind of a confusing schedule or statement, but it gets to that net position that you saw in the previous page. But what it attempts to do is show revenues offsetting expenses to come down to a net program or a net function for the government, for the town. So by governmental activities. So you have as much as possible to show revenues netting against expenses. And then on page 15, Statement 3, this is your overall general fund, your budgeted fund, where you'll come down. Now, in this statement, you will not see your capital assets, nor will you see your liabilities, your long-term liabilities shown on here. Just your current, like accounts payable, accrued, and other accruals. But you'll see that your total fund balances come down to $2,831,882. Your total unassigned fund balance is $1,173,601. So that's after the audit adjustments are entered. So if you had seen a fund balance previous to that, this would be adjusted balance carry forward. And then of course you have your committed accounts and your assigned balances that make up the rest of that.
So the committed for other purposes, like $1.2 million, that's not long-term debt. That's what. Give me, for instance, what that might be.
Those are you have several categories, but if you look in the footnotes, you should see a breakdown of those, page 35. That 1,286,797 is made up of all of those accounts. So your capital improvement reserve, drug court, it's several different reserves.
Oh, so the designated accounts really?
Yeah, the old term was designated.
Thank you, I'm older
Yeah.
than,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what they are. Just new terms now. And assigned, the 363 are kind of more current, not overall reoccurring accounts, but more current to be used for next year.
Gotcha.
I'm going to skip actually to your sewer fund, because I'm going to talk about the results of the general fund, comparing it against budget on a later page. But on page 19 and 20 are the results of your sewer fund. So on page 20 shows your overall revenues minus expenses to get at your net position ending balance in your sewer account. Now, the sewer fund does include assets and does include any liabilities offsetting those assets as well. So it does include capital assets. So your sewer net position went down by $75,722. This was not resulting from overall regular operating expenses causing this, because depreciation is a part of that, which makes up $181,000 of that loss. Any questions on that? The footnotes following in the next pages, 24 through 40, just give more detailed analysis of some of those balances that you saw in those other statements. If you wanted to look further as to more detail as to what comprises those, it would take me a while to go through each one of those. But if you go to page 41, this is how your overall results came through comparing against your budget. So you budgeted after adjustments total revenues of $11,021,000. You actually took in $11,391,000. So you had an overall positive variance there of $370,000. So you took in $370,000 more than what you anticipated. Your adjusted expenditure budget was $11,837,273, but you actually spent $11,242,000. There again, you had a positive variance in your budget against of $595,112. That left an overall positive variance of $965,000. So this positive variance did not increase your fund balance by that because you chose to utilize the carry forwards down below. You use $170,000 from your from unrestricted and committed balances, an additional $334,000 from committed, and then assigned balances of $299,000. So in the end, the overall effect on your fund balance was to increase it by $207,000 to bring it down to that total of $2,831,000 that I had talked about on that previous statement, which is comprised of several different components. So it's a very favorable year on the financial side. Thanks. And a relatively healthy fund balance in the end. So.
On the 595,000 expenditures that we were under the budget, I was trying to see them. Some of those we carried forward, and I didn't see that total. I was trying to see where you got that from. You had those added up there and said how much we actually were we carried forward some of them into this year, right?
Yeah, so those are gonna show, that's what's
And then those are-
in that 2,831,000. That's still carried in that figure there.
Okay.
If you look at statement 3 on page 15, you see assigned for other purposes,
Right.
363, 631, and that's the carry forward.
Page 15, Doug,
Yes.
what was that number?
It's,
Fourth one up from the bottom.
yeah, assigned for other purposes.
Oh, yeah,
63, 631.
Yeah.
That's the balance carry forward.
Okay. So again, Doug took in more than he planned on and spent less than he planned on, huh?
Well, that's how we like to do it.
Poor planning.
We've had a good year.
What's that?
We've had a good year.
Yeah.
So that's the major highlights of the report. Any questions on it? Want me to go over anything else?
Doug, can you just give us a brief summary of where the larger parts of the excess revenue came? I know we get those sheets, the excise taxes.
Motor vehicle excise tax is the vast majority of it, because we're conservative.
About what percentage would you guess, just,
90%.
okay. People keep buying new cars, well,
At least some.
Yeah, and I mean, last year we were up something like 7%, and this year, we're up not as much, we're still up 2-3% so far, so it's still going up.
until China's tariffs hit.
Well,
Any further questions?
Was there any recommendations or anything that we needed to change? Sometimes we see some recommendations in here.
Yeah, that's I mentioned first that there was no
None at all?
none that made it to this level. There was minor corrections during the audit that were verbalized to Doug. They didn't carry too much weight for overall. So
Good.
more tweaks.
I know once in a while Doug has come to us with some changes that they recommended that we do another year.
Further comments? Thank you for your time, sir. If that's all you have. Thank you so much. Done, as always, tremendous job with town.
Thank you.
Great job, tremendous. Without any further ado, we have a lot on the agenda tonight. We'll move next to number 3, the CPI.
You've got another agenda there.
Just over there, somewhere,
Yeah, we've got one more insert.
right there.
Okay. My apologies.
Number 3.
See, this is the second one you gave me. So this is the updated one.
Yeah.
This is consideration.
Consideration of fund balance policy.
Doug will have a discussion.
Thank you,
on that.
Doug. We'll go back.
Sure. Well, first I asked Craig if he could hang around for just a few minutes and perhaps lend his expertise to this. The level of fund balance that we want to have, and the precise terminology is unassigned fund balance, is something that's been brought up a number of times in recent years, and a lot of communities have specific fund balance policies. And I've looked at a number of these and thought that it might be something that the council might considering adopting as a policy. And I looked at a number of different policies. I listed, and I presume you have that sheet that shows a number of towns, the level of fund balance that they have as part of their policy, because there's quite a bit of variance. This is something I've talked to Craig on several occasions, and his recommendation is that it be unassigned fund balance be 10% of our overall budget. And right now, we are at the time of this report, June 30th, 2018, we're just over that 10.4%. So anyhow, I thought it might be something worth considering and to have a formal policy. And I looked at a number of different policies and kind of some of the language was very consistent and that I used, but a little bit, some of it was a little bit different. And in creating a policy, I thought that we want to have flexibility and that this is a goal of 10%, because at some point in time, there may be circumstances when we want to use it and it will go below that 10%. And I think it's important to have flexibility, because you do not know what kind of circumstances may occur in the future. And you could call this a rainy day fund. It is for, something out of the ordinary if that happens. So I set this policy up as to have a goal of 10%. One of the other things that I did is in writing this on the second page under maintenance, that if it goes below that 10%, that the town planned to adjust budget resources in subsequent budget years, because there were policies that said in subsequent years. And again, I thought it was important to have flexibility, because it may be something that you might want to take more than 1 year to recover the fund balance to the 10% level. And so, based upon Craig's recommendation, I would agree that 10% would be a reasonable goal to have for us. And so, but obviously, other towns have different goals for their policies. So that's something that you could change should you feel that you want to. But this is policy that I put together for your consideration for